The observation deck of the Celestial Harmony hummed with the quiet efficiency of a dozen species working side by side. Rose adjusted the atmospheric filters on her workstation, her fingers dancing across holographic controls with practiced ease. 3 months aboard the intergalactic research vessel had taught her that humans were still novelties in this corner of the galaxy, curiosities to be studied, questioned, and often underestimated. Rose, a tiny voice chirped from beside her elbow. She glanced down to find Zigthor, the Minarian researcher who barely reached her knee in height. His people were among the smallest sentient species in the known galaxy, standing no taller than a human child's toy. But what they lacked in stature, they made up for in brilliance. Zigthor's specialty was xenobiology, and his 4 crystalline eyes held an intelligence that commanded respect. "Hey Zik," Rose smiled, crouching down to his level. It was a gesture she'd learned he appreciated. "What's up?" The little alien's antennae twitched nervously. He wore what Rose had come to recognize as his environmental suit, a shimmering, iridescent shell that regulated his body temperature and protected his delicate exoskeleton from the ship's standard atmosphere. "I have ... question, personal question." His translator rendered his clicking speech into hesitant English. "Sure, ask away." Zigthor's tiny hands fidgeted with a datapad that looked comically large in his grip. "I observe humans. Watch how Alex and others interact with different species. You are ... strange." Rose chuckled. "We get that a lot." No, Zigthor's antennae drooped. "Strange in good way. Confusing way." He paused, his crystalline eyes reflecting the starlight streaming through the view. "Other species, they tolerate we are useful, our minds are valuable, but they see us as ... incomplete, defective, too small, too fragile." Rose's smile faded. She'd noticed the condescension some of the larger species displayed toward the Minarians, the way they spoke slowly, as if to children, or dismissed their contributions and briefings. "Alex, different," Zigthor continued. "Yesterday, in the lab, I dropped sample container, heavy for me." Alex stopped his important experiment to help. Then he sat on floor, made himself small to talk to me about my research, asked questions like my work matters. "It does matter," Rose said gently. "I know this." Zigthor's voice rose with frustration. "But others don't see." "Alex sees." "You see, why?" Before Rose could answer, Alex himself rounded the corner, his arms full of equipment. "Rose, did you finish though?" "Hey Zik." He immediately set down his load and knelt, bringing himself to the Minarian's eye level. "How's the protein analysis coming?" Is good, Zigthor mumbled. But his antennae were vibrating with what Rose had learned was anxiety. Alex noticed too. "Everything okay, buddy?" The tiny alien looked between them, his crystalline eyes glistening. Then, with trembling hands, he reached for the release mechanism on his environmental suit. "Wait," Rose started, concerned. "The ship's atmosphere wasn't optimized for Minarians." "I must show you," Zigthor said firmly. "Must know truth." The iridescent shell split and fell away. Without it, Zigthor looked even smaller, more vulnerable. His true exoskeleton was dull and scarred, covered in what looked like burn marks and deformities. One of his 4 arms was withered, barely functional. His antennae were crooked, and patches of his carapace were rough and discolored. "Accident," Zigthor said quietly. "When I was juvenile, chemical fire in training facility. Other Minarians ... They say I was lucky to survive, but they look at me different now. Even my own kind." His voice cracked. "The suit, it hides the damage. Makes me look ... normal, acceptable." He looked up at them with an expression that transcended species' pure, vulnerable fear. "Would you stay if I took this off? Human?" The question hung in the air, laden with every rejection he'd ever faced. "Or do you only respect the illusion?" Alex didn't hesitate. He sat down fully on the floor, crossing his legs, and extended his hand palm up, the universal gesture of peace they'd all adopted. "Zik, man, I'm going to tell you something about humans." Zigthor's antennae tilted toward him. "We're a species that got to space despite being kind of terrible at it," Alex said with a soft laugh. "We can't breathe methane like the Thorsians. We can't process quantum math in our heads like the Vex. We don't have natural armor or weapons or even particularly impressive size. We break ice, we get sick, we age." Rose sat down to adding, "We spend our whole history being told we're not enough. Too emotional, too violent, too curious, too stubborn. But you know what we learned?" Alex continued. "That the scars you carry don't make you less. They make you a survivor. They tell a story." He pointed to a faint line across his forearm. "Shuttle accident. First year of academy. Almost quit after that. Was terrified. But I didn't let fear define me. Zichther stared at the scar, then at his own damaged arm. The suit is practical, sure, Rose said. But with or without it, you're still the xenobiologist who discovered the protein sequence that saved the Dalarian colony. You're still the researcher whose papers I've read a dozen times because they're brilliant. Read my papers. All of them, Alex confirmed. You're not an illusion, Zik. You're a person who survived something terrible and became amazing anyway. That's not despite your scars, that's because you're strong enough to carry them. The tiny alien's crystalline eyes shimmered with moisture. In Minerian culture, tears were a rarer sign of profound emotion. Humans are so strange, Zichther whispered. You see broken thing and call it beautiful. Not broken, Rose corrected gently. Repaired, rebuilt, resilient. Alex smiled. That's the human way, buddy. We don't abandon people because they've been through hell. We respect them more for walking out the other side. Zichther picked up his environmental suit, running his good hand over its surface. Then, deliberately, he set it aside. Then I stay like this, with friends who sees, not shell, not illusion. That's brave, Rose said. No, the little alien replied, his antennae standing proud. This is human thing. You teach me. He looked up at them both, and for the first time since Rose had known him, Zichther seemed to stand taller. You teach me that being seen truly seen is worth a fear. Alex extended his hand again, and Zichther climbed into his palm, settling comfortably there as the three of them looked out at the stars together. In that moment, aboard a ship full of species from across the galaxy, a tiny alien learned what made humans truly extraordinary, not their strength or technology, but their unshakable belief that every person, no matter how small, how scarred, how differentized, to be valued exactly as they are.